Yeah. So, Prof, let's talk about you, the originator of the KVIP.
Yes.
Yes, and then your interaction with our now Professor Isiewa.
Yes. When I was pro VC and doing all those things, I was very, very busy. And I could not do any research. I used to play tennis every afternoon, but I couldn't play any tennis any longer. So one of our medical officers, Dr. Apia, who was involved in one of the founders of Bomso Clinic, said that was not good for my health and that I should play golf. And I said, I didn't have the time. He promised every morning to pick me up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go and play golf for 1 hour. And then by 8 o'clock, I'll be at work. So anyway, so this was what we were doing. And we came to when I was no longer a pro vice chancellor, I had the free time. So I started thinking what I would be doing. Incidentally, you said that I was doing so many things. Some members of staff at the university felt that I had become, because I was handling so many things, I had become power drunk, you see. And so when I had nothing to do, I said, okay, I'm no longer going to serve the university. I like to serve the poor. So I took 2 projects to work on. One was improve the rural latrines. Because I used to fear using rural pit latrines for fear that I might fall in. So I wanted to find out what I could do about it. The other was about quality of groundwater. Just around the university, some people would draw their water from wells, and the water would turn brownish after a little while. So what is the reason why? What can we do to improve the quality? And then it happened that coincidentally, somebody from Canada said he was willing to give me money for those 2 projects, provided I could get counterpart funds from the government. And I got the counterpart funds, so he gave me money for it. And I was able to hire hire my own accountant and a whole host of other people that I had money to hire on my own. So we started the KVIP, and I organized a conference which brought people from different parts of the world, India, South Africa, and other parts, to look at different types of rural latrines. And when we looked at them, the best of them seemed to be a South African toilet called Wright's odorless earth closet. And it had 2 important features. One was that its pit was not directly underneath the squatting area or the sitting area. So it was attractive to me. Because if I use it, I would not fall into the pit, because the pit was located away from the toilet room. Then, but there was a curved pipe which connected the toilet room to the pit. The second thing which I liked about it was that it had a vent pipe on top of it. So it was odorless. That's why they called it Wright's odorless earth. Yeah. So I wanted to incorporate these 2 features in a toilet which could be used in our rural areas and in some institutions in the country. My major concern was how to eliminate, first of all, eliminating the curved pipe. What I did, if I may put it this way, was to extend the pit slightly into the toilet room, just enough for the squatting area. And the rest of the toilet room was on solid ground. So when I did that, I could eliminate the pipe. Initially, I was slanting the wall inside so that the presumption was that feces falling on the slanting wall could then slide into the pit behind. But later on, I realized that from biochemistry and other things, I realized that it was not necessary to make it that way. You could make it straight, vertical, and it would work just as well as it would. And it was much simpler to make it vertical. So I could slide.
Can I ask from my layman point of view why you wanted to eliminate a curved pipe?
The curved pipe, it means that you have two structures, the toilet room and the pit. And then you have a curved pipe. And the curved pipe was such that the feces will fall on the pipe and then slide into the pit.
Into the pit, yeah.
Which was, away from the toilet room. And I wanted to simplify the design. So I was thinking of the rural area, simplify the design. Can I eliminate it? And I found the way to eliminate it is just to project the pit, extend it slightly into the room, so that feces fall into it, but no farther.
Yeah.
I initially also slanted the side of the wall of the pit, which was within the room, but I found that it was not necessary, and I didn't want to slant it anyway. And what happens is that whether you slant it or not, after a little while, the feces become liquefied, so they take the same level. It doesn't matter whether you are defecating at one end or not. In the end, the feces will spread from where they fall to the end of the pit, and because it turns into some liquids and it takes the same level. So that was the reason. The second thing I wanted to do was to have a permanent pit latrine, so you don't have to be rebuilding, digging pits all over the place. So I wanted to have two pits side by side. You see, but my problem was how to switch from one pit to the other when the first one is full.
Yeah.
And in hydraulics, we had something for such switching, but we're using water, so it was easy to switch. But when you are not using water, how do you switch? And then the solution suggested itself to me one day when I was traveling from Accra to Kumasi, and I sketched the solution in the car, because I had a driver. I sketched it. And as soon as I got to Kumasi, I gave the sketch to somebody to do the first construction from Monday. It was Friday that I was traveling. And the solution was like you have two matchboxes or two pits, put them side by side, and the dividing wall is therefore in the middle with equal size and then slide the pits with the dividing wall into the toilet room, with the dividing wall designed in such a way that it divides the pit you have two squatting holes in there. One hole opens into a pit on one side, and the other hole opens into a pit on the other side. I don't know whether you understand what I'm talking about.
I have to picture it. I think so.
Yes, so you have two, take like two matchboxes without the cover, which nice ones, and then you put them side by side. And so in the middle, you have a dividing wall, right?
Yes, a thin, yeah.
Yeah, and then when you slide these underneath the toilet room with the dividing wall in the middle, on the left, you have an opening into one pit. On the right, you have an opening into the other pit.
Okay, so you have the other side closed, and you use one till it's full, and then you move on to the other.
Yes, so you have one room, but you can have access to the two pits through these two holes.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it was that if you have one room, you must have two pits. Then I sketched it. If I have two rooms, how many pits should I have? I needed only
pits.
No. You see, you must have only 3 pits. And the number of pits is always one more than the number of rooms. And your answer is very illuminating, because we went to Nigeria working with UNICEF, and we wanted to train some builders on how to build this in Lagos. And they were experienced builders, and they said, no, they don't need any training. They have the drawings, so they could draw. The drawing said that you have 10 pits and 10 rooms and 11 pits. But when they constructed them, do you know what they did? They had 10 rooms and 20 pits.
I still don't understand how what you're saying even works. How 2 rooms give you 3 pits instead of 4? I don't get it.
I will explain that to you. When you have 2 rooms, you see, then you have, say, when you enter, you have one room to your right, the other to your left. In each of those 2 rooms, you have 2 openings, and the outermost openings open into separate pits. The innermost opening, 2 of them, the innermost openings on each of the other rooms. They open into a common pit.
Okay, I think I get it.
Yeah. So you
So
have
how is it that
pits.
they constructed 20? How did they use it?
They
They were
didn't-
redundant.
They assume that if for one pit, for one room you have 2 pits,
Two
for
pits,
20
yeah.
rooms you must have double that. But they didn't have the concept. We didn't want to teach them the concept. We wanted them to construct what they saw. And even though they were experienced builders, they made their own assumptions, but didn't look at the drawing. Because your natural instinct should be that if you have 1 pit, 2 pits, 1 room, 2 pits, then when you have 2 rooms, you
Yes,
must
definitely 4 pits. I believe that can be excused because I'm not an engineer.
Exactly, yes. So that was a very interesting discovery. I saw all this on the way from Accra to Kumasi and sketched this. So what we sketched in the Faculty of Engineering, which is now been the particular latrine has been dismantled, demolished, was, I think we had 3 pits. Sorry, three rooms, which means you have 4 pits. But what we noticed was that we were using 4-inch diameter vent pipes on each of the pits. You understand that each pit must have a vent pipe.
Yes, to make it odorless.
To make it odorless. And we used, the vent pipe sizes were 4-inch diameter. For the pits that were on the extreme ends, the 4-inch was adequate. But those inside,
it wasn't adequate.
Not adequate. The way we made it adequate was to increase the diameter a little, from 4 to 6. We only at that time had 4-inch and 6-inch diameter pipes that we could use. So that's what we did. And when we increased those in the middle from 4 inches to 6 inches, then it worked. So this is how the story behind the KBIP.
Was it because of the concentration being the inner rooms?
It was because the direction where in the outer ones, there was no competition as to where the odor would go when it's rising. But if it's in the middle, it could rise either through the next room. It can go up or go into the next room or go into there are several options. So I said that the middle room was receiving the feces from 2 adjacent toilet rooms.
Yes.
And we found that sometimes the odor wouldn't go up. It will come into the middle room. The next room. The one or the other.
Leaving a stench. So increasing the diameter made it easier.
Made it easier for them for the escape of the gas. Yes, and we had top of the vent some screen to prevent flies from entering.
Definitely.
Now, this introduced an interesting thing. In Zimbabwe, it happened that there was a biologist who had designed a similar latrine, but it was just 1 pit and 1 toilet room. And he had a vent pipe on it. And his theory was that flies are attracted by light. So you must make the toilet room dark. So as not to attract flies into the room. But when we did our trial once in Ayeduase village. We constructed the first ones there for free on the condition that we could bring in visitors. And I noticed that when we took visitors or I visited the place at any time, I could find flies all over the courtyard, the cemented courtyard. But inside, I couldn't find any fly. And working it out, I realized that the flies were attracted actually by food or scent. Small food particles in the courtyard could attract flies. But if the toilet is odorless, it did not attract flies. However, at the top of the vent pipe, that was where all the scent was going, and attracted flies. So you could see flies hovering
on top of it. Yeah.
They couldn't enter if you had the screen.
The screen, yeah.
That was the purpose of the screen. And if perchance a fly may come in, it will try to escape when it sees light at the top of that vent. It will try to escape through the vent. And when it does so, it goes and hits the vent, the screen. It tries and tries and tries until it becomes tired and collapses and dies. So we designed ours without making the rooms dark. And I remember we had visitors from Zimbabwe who came to see some of those which we constructed in some quarters for security officers near the hospital. And their question was, why was it that we kept our toilets, where there was light in our toilets, our KVIP toilets? And I asked them, what was the problem of doing that? And they said, if you do that, if there's light in the toilet, it will attract flies. So I asked them, since you came and you've been going around, have you seen flies in any of the KVIP toilets? He said, no. So I said, we realized that it was the odor which attracted the flies. So long as the toilet was odorless, we wouldn't have any flies. And so I hope they also learned about it.
So did that theory also work? The darkness and then the flies?
I've used some of theirs before, but I cannot tell if it works, because when you enter, you can't see even where the hole is. It takes some time before you can see where the pit hole is. So if there are flies, it's too dark for you to tell that there are no flies or there are flies. And I thought that there's a danger to that design of making them dark, because if somebody has an urgent call, I call a physiological imperative, somebody having diarrhea and he must go to the toilet quickly. You don't have time for your eyes to get used to the darkness to see where the hole is, and you may foul the toilet hole.
Yes, do it anywhere. That's true.
So I wasn't sure about their design, but he was a biologist. He had learned that flies are attracted by light, but actually I think that they are also attracted by
scent and by fat flow.
Mm-hmm. So that is the story, and we called it the ventilated. Initially, I called it ventilated offset pit latrine, and then we changed it to vented indirect pit latrine, and we used the term VIP, which intrigued a number of people outside in Canada and Britain. And then I found that they were adopting VIP to even the Zimbabwe one and other similar pit latrine, which were not following our design. So I introduced the letter K to the VIP to distinguish ours from other VIPs that they are using. So now the VIP has become a common term, but KVIP is distinctive.
Okay, and the K doesn't really stand for anything. It
stands for Kumasi. The Kumasi KVIP, Kumasi type VIP.
Okay.
So that's what it stands for.
How did you come to work with Prof. Esewa?
Professor Esewa, I've said in my write-up that matrilineally I come from Akomfi, but actually my mother's father comes from Oda, Akim Oda.
Okay.
You see, and he was related to this too, Atefua family, related to this too. So actually the Omahin of Akim Ebuako area asked me to take care of Akim Oda area. Akim Oda area asked me to take care of our people in Kumasi. So it was at one meeting when I met Professor Esewa. She had just finished with her first degree, and I used to have an Indian as my research assistant. He did not want to touch feces, but he was hired to do research on the feces. And Esewa fortunately had done biology, and he's done microbiology and all that, and was willing to do that. and was a very good student. So I hired her, and she became very, very hardworking. And but for her, I presume the work I did might have evaporated into thin air. And she, even though she was a biologist when she entered, she did her doctorate in an area which earned her doctorate in civil engineering, and became head of civil engineering, and eventually vice chancellor of a new university. Yes, so she was also internationally known. In one of the things I was supervising was a London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine global research project, and she was head of one of them called SNOWS. I mentioned it in my write-up. The groundwork we did survived mainly, from what I could tell, through her efforts. Yes.
That's great. That's great. But the issue to do with the Padjo drainage system, if you remember, if you could share.
Yeah, when I was at Tech, Padjo Stadium was where major sporting events took place, soccer and all that. But it used to be flooded because there's a stream near it. I think the Sisanso or something they called it at that time. And the water level in an adjacent area is not that different from that of a stream nearby. So when it rained, and you couldn't drain the Padjo Stadium very well, it became difficult to. The water got stuck all over the place, and so it was necessary to find a solution to it. And so I, with Professor Kumaple, he's an expert in soil mechanics and foundations, and we teamed up to do that. He did the research on the nature of the soil beneath, and we decided to have a porous drainage system. We had some pipes with some holes in them. They were not joined. We cut them into pieces, and then we laid them in a bed of graduated pebbles and stones, so that the water from Padjo Stadium could drain into those pipes. And those pipes were drained in such a way that they could also drain into Susan, the river nearby.
Oh, okay.
And so we had a way of draining the pipe. So the goal was, how do you drain the park, the stadium, when it rained? And this solution of underground drainage helped to convey the water quickly into the stream without the river, yes, without ponding up on the park or on the stadium. Yes, so this was the which seemed to have
accessible for play even in the rainy season.
Yes, indeed, yes. And it seems to have worked over the years. I have not heard that there's been any issue with it since then. This was a very long time ago. This was done when I presume in the 70s, early 70s.
Very ingenious of you and Prof. Kumaple.
Professor Kumaple, yes. And the other thing I learned, which Professor Kumaple proved, was that if you are ahead and you needed some work done very quickly, you give it to the busiest person around. And
yes, Prof's motto.
Yes, and Professor Kumaple was one of the busiest staff members, and when work was given to the staff, he was the first to finish it, and so on and so forth. So he was very, very, very good in what he did.
And you say you believe that is because they are so busy, they want to get the work done so that they can get on to what they are actually doing.
That's right. That's what my belief is, and I think that is what it is. Yes.
But since you said that, it's been playing in my head for a while, and I've tried. I think it kind of works.
Yes.
Yeah, Prof. So we'll bring this particular part, and then the next time we'll be talking about the various people you know about, a bit more about Prof. Banfo-Kwache, a bit more about Prof. Kumaple, a bit more about Prof. Levine, and all the names that we have come to see on the buildings, and we don't understand exactly, okay, so who was this person? Why? What exactly did he do that the school has decided to name this after him and all that?
Okay.
We are so grateful for your wealth of knowledge.